It's a quiet night in Kyoto, Japan, sometime in the early 1970s. The city's lantern-lit streets hum with the soft chatter of locals winding down after a long day. But beneath that serene surface, something dark is stirring. A man slips through the shadows, his footsteps silent, his intentions anything but innocent. By day, he's a hero, a firefighter rushing into burning buildings to save lives, earning medals and applause. By night, he's a predator, a thief, a killer. Over 300 homes broken into, 22 lives snuffed out. And the scariest part? The police don't have a clue who he is. His name's Kotaka Katsuta, and he's about to become one of Japan's most infamous serial killers. How does a guy like this, someone who's supposed to protect people, turn into a monster hiding in plain sight? Stick with me, because this story is going to take us deep into a twisted mind and a city that never saw it coming. Let's set the scene. Kyoto's no ordinary place. Smack in the heart of Japan's main islands. It's a cultural jewel, once the imperial capital where emperors called the shots. Think ancient temples, sprawling palaces, and a vibe that screams history. It's part of the Osaka metropolitan buzz, one of Japan's big three urban hubs, but it's got a soul all its own. Rich traditions, tight-knit communities. And yet, it's here, in this picturesque cradle of Japanese heritage, that Kotaka's reign of terror begins. A guy who'd pull you from a fire 1 minute and slit your throat the next. The question is, what kind of life breeds a double act as chilling? Let's rewind the clock and dig into the man behind the mask. Starting with a kid who seemed destined for trouble from the jump. Kotaka Katsuta came into this world on August 29, 1948, in a little rural spot called Koganeli, just outside Kyoto. His family wasn't scraping by like most folks in post-war Japan. They had land, a house, and enough cash to keep things comfortable. He had an older sister, the golden child who did everything right, while Kotaka, he was the wild card, the kid who'd rather break rules than follow them. By the time he's in elementary school, he's flashing pocket money, buying candy and snacks, while other kids are lucky to eat a full meal. It's the kind of thing that makes you stand out, and not always in a good way. Jealous classmates, whispering neighbors. It's a small taste of the spotlight he'd crave later, for better or worse. But here's where it gets interesting. Kotaka's not just a spoiled brat with a sweet tooth. He's got a streak of defiance a mile wide, and it's about to steer him straight into the shadows. School's a bust. His grades are rock bottom, and when he brags to a middle school teacher about getting into a top public high school, the guy laughs in his face. "Keep dreaming, kid," he says. Turns out, the teacher's right. Kotaka bombs the entrance exams, and his dad, fed up with the antics, tells him to learn farming. Solid plan, right? Inherit the family land, live a quiet life. Except Kotaka hates the idea. Hard work? Dirty hands? No thanks. He's already dreaming bigger, darker dreams, and soon enough, he's going to act on them. So, what's next for this restless troublemaker? A slide into petty crime that'll snowball into something far uglier. We're talking theft, violence, and eventually murder, all while he builds a perfect cover as a hometown hero. How does he pull it off? How does a guy go from stealing lunch money to stacking bodies without anyone catching on? That's where this tale's headed, and trust me, it's a wild ride. Next time, we'll follow Kotaka through his teenage years. When the first seeds of chaos take root and the cops get their first glimpse of the monster they'll spend decades chasing. Ready to peel back the layers? Let's keep going. All right, let's pick up where we left off. We've got Kotaka Katsuta, a kid with a chip on his shoulder and a knack for trouble, growing up in the rolling hills of rural Kyoto. Last time, we saw him as the black sheep of a decent family. Spoiled, rebellious, and already showing signs he's not cut out for straight and narrow. Now, we're diving into his teenage years, the messy stretch where those little sparks of defiance catch fire and start burning out of control. This is where the story gets juicy, because it's not just about a punk kid anymore. It's about how that punk kid starts sharpening the claws of a predator. Buckle up, because Kotaka's about to take his first real steps into the dark. By the time he's in middle school, Kotaka's already a walking disaster. His grades are a joke, bottom of the class, every time. He's the kind of student teachers dread. Loud, cocky, and allergic to effort. One day, he's dumb enough to mouth off to a teacher, bragging he'll ace the entrance exam for a top public high school. The teacher doesn't even blink, just smirks and says, "Yeah, sure, kid. Dream on." And dream is all Kotaka does, because when the results roll in, he's flunked hard. No fancy school, no proud moment for family. His dad's furious, of course. The old man's a strict type, always riding Kotaka to shape up, and now he's got a plan. Farming. Learn agriculture. He says, it's honest work. If you can't get a job later, you've got the land to fall back on. Sensible, right? Except Kotaka is not sensible. He hates the idea of sweating the fields. Too dirty, too tough, too boring. He's got bigger ideas, even if he doesn't know what they are yet. School's not a total wash, though. Kotaka joins a brass band club, blowing the trumpet like he's some big shot. It's not about the music, it's about the swagger. He's still got that pocket money from home, flashing it around, buying snacks and junk to impress his buddies. But here's the thing. He's a show-off with expensive tastes, and that cash doesn't stretch far enough. He's too proud to ask his dad for more, probably scared of the lecture he'd get. So he figures out a shortcut. Why beg when you can take? It starts small, swiping meal vouchers from the school cafeteria, nicking a few coins here and there. Kid stuff, almost harmless. But Kotaka's got a knack for it, and the more he gets away with, the bolder he gets. Soon he's lifting bikes, cash, anything he can sell. He's not just a brat anymore, he's a thief, and he's good at it. Fast forward to November 1965. Kotaka's 17, a junior in high school, and he's pushing his luck. He's out on the streets, spots a woman with a bag, and decides it's his. Snatches it and bolts. Classic snatch and grab. Except this time, he's not so slick. A cop catches him red-handed, and when they haul him in, the kid spills everything. Over the past year, he's pulled off more than 20 thefts, raking in 1.18 million yen. Serious money back then, especially for a teenager. The cops are stunned. The school's horrified, and his parents? Devastated doesn't cover it. The principal's not taking chances. Kotaka's expelled on the spot. They figure if he's this bad now, what's he going to do later? So they ship him off to a reform school, hoping a little discipline will straighten him out. Spoiler, it doesn't. When he gets out, Kotaka's a free man, but a total mess. No diploma, no prospects, just a rap sheet and a bad attitude. He drifts, picking up odd jobs when he can, but nothing sticks. His dad finally pulls some strings and lands him a gig at an auto parts factory. It's grunt work, but it's steady, until the break room lockers get busted open and stuff goes missing. Everyone points at Kotaka. He's got a record. After all, here's the kicker. This time, he's actually innocent. Doesn't matter, though. The whispers, the side eye, the distrust. It's too much. He quits, fed up with being the scapegoat. Now he's jobless, aimless, and pissed off, hanging out with the wrong crowd and burning through whatever cash he's got left. But then, a curveball, love. Kotaka's got a decent face and a smooth tongue, and it lands him a girlfriend. She's sweet, steady, the kind of girl who sees something worth saving in him. They hit it off, get serious enough to talk marriage. Problem is, when her parents dig into his past and find that reform school stint, they shut it down hard. No daughter of theirs is tying the knot with a crook. Kotaka's crushed, but he's not giving up. He and his girl make a bold move. They run off together. First stop's Osaka, then they bounce to Nara. He picks up a job driving long-haul trucks. She finds work nearby, and for a minute, it looks like they might make it. They even tie the knot in secret and have a kid, a little family of 3, scraping by but happy. It's the kind of setup that could have turned him around. Could have, except fate's got other plans. January 1972 rolls around, and a bank clerk turns up dead in Nara. Brutal murder, no leads. The cops start poking around Kotaka's trucking company. His old record flags him as a suspect. He's got an alibi, so they let it slide, but the damage is done. Word spreads, co-workers start talking, and suddenly he's a guy nobody trusts again. That old anger bubbles up, and with it, a hunger for something more. Something fast, something dirty. He's about to cross a line he can't uncross, and it's going to change everything. Where is this headed? A guy on the edge, A life teetering between redemption and ruin, and a first taste of blood that's closer than you think. Next time, we'll see how Kotaka's world flips upside down, how a brush with suspicion lights the fuse on a killing spree, and how a firefighter's uniform becomes a perfect disguise for a monster. Stay with me, it's about to get wild. So here we are, Kotaka Katsuta's at a crossroads. He's got a wife, a kid, a truck driving gig, and a shot at a normal life in Nara. But normal's never been his speed, has it? Last time, we left him simmering, caught in the crosshairs of a murder investigation he didn't commit. That bank clerk's death in Nara, January 1972, didn't pin him down, the alibi held, but it lit something ugly inside him. The whispers, the stares, the way his co-workers ice him out. It's like pouring gas on a smoldering fire. He's mad he's broke, and he's about to make some very bad calls. Let's dive in and see how a guy clinging to stability trades it all for chaos, and how a firefighter's badge becomes his ticket to terror. Kotaka's spiraling fast. The trucking job pays the bills, but he's got a family now, and that old habit of blowing cash like it's nothing hasn't gone away. Clothes, booze, fancy dinners. He's racking up debt faster than he can haul freight. His wife's furious. His dad's done bailing him out, but Kotaka's not about to tighten the belt. Instead, he goes full tilt. Shopping sprees, luxury splurges, anything to drown the shame of being the company pariah. It's a vicious cycle. Spend feel big, borrow to keep spending, sink deeper into the hole. He's drowning, and he knows it. But then his old man throws him a lifeline. The local fire department hiring, and Dad's got a hunch. Get in there, son. It's steady work, good pay, and people respect a firefighter. You could turn this around. Kotaka's not thrilled. His dad's lectures still chafe, but he's out of options. He's got the muscle for it. Aces a physical test, and in 1972, at 23, he's in. One catch. He buries that reform school rap sheet deep. No one's the wiser. Here's where it gets good. Kotaka takes to the job like a fish to water. He's hauling hoses, busting down doors, pulling folks from burning wrecks. Real hero stuff. His team loves him. He's got grit, charm, and a work ethic that surprises even him. The pay's solid, too, better than trucking. And for a minute, it looks like he's found his lane. But those debts, they're a noose around his neck. And the firefighter gig isn't enough to shake them loose. So he keeps driving trucks on the side, burning the candle at both ends. It's exhausting, but he's managing, until that hunger for more creeps back in. He's rubbing shoulders with guys who play golf, wear sharp suits, live large. Kotaka wants that. Not tomorrow, not in 10 years, now. He starts dropping cash on golf clubs, VIP memberships, anything to look the part. The debts pile higher, and that old itch, the one that got him lifting wallets as a kid, starts twitching again. September 13th, 1972. It's the turning point. Kotaka's driving through Kyoto's Yamashina district, late night, moonlight glinting off the streets. He spots a chance, an apartment dark, easy pickings. He slips in, quiet as a ghost. Old habits die hard. He's rummaging for cash from the tenant, a 24-year-old bar hostess. Wakes up. She screams, he panics, and in a heartbeat, it's not just a break-in anymore. He attacks her, violates her, then kills her cold and quick. Slips out with 1,000 yen from her purse, heart pounding, hands shaking. His first kill. The cops? They don't even blink his way. She's a hostess, mixed up with shady types. So they figure it's a John gone wrong. No DNA tech back then, no trail to follow. Case goes cold, and Kotaka? He's in the clear. But here's the twist. It spooks him. He's haunted, nightmares, guilt, the works. For 2 years, he lays low, sticks to firefighting, keeps his nose clean. Almost like he's trying to outrun what he's done. Fast forward to 1974. Kotaka's back on track, sort of. He's racked up some solid saves, earned a promotion to deputy fire chief. The brass loves him, the public cheers him. He's got a wife and kid at home, a decent paycheck, a uniform that screams respect. But that darkness, it's still there, festering. July 6, 1975, 2:35 a.m., Osaka. He's prowling again, spots a 33-year-old club madam in a hallway. Plan simple, grab her purse. Ghost out. She fights back hard. Kotaka snaps, kills her, walks off with 100,000 yen. Cops chase the usual suspects, her clients, her lovers. No one looks at the firefighter clocking in the next morning. He's learning. Night workers, complicated lives, easy targets. March 8, 1976, Nagoya. Another club owner, 32, flashy and loaded. He jumps her, kills her, torches her car to cover his tracks. 120,000 yen richer. Same deal. Cops chase shadows. He walks free. Now he's rolling. Kotaka's living two lives, and he's damn good at both. June 30th, 1977, Kobe. Breaks into a house. Grabs 40,000 yen, but the 28-year-old owner comes home early. Face to face, no choice. He kills her. Cops peg it as a love triangle gone bad. Days later, he's on TV, grinning, accepting an award for bravery. The public eats it up. Kotaka Katsuta, firefighter extraordinaire. August 12, 1977, Tango District. Another break-in. Another woman. 33 this time. Dead. A 450,000 yen diamond ring in his pocket. He's cocky now, untouchable. December 1977, Nada. Steals a shotgun in a car. Ups the ante. December 13th, Kobe. Hits a bank. Shoots a 25-year-old clerk. Grabs 4.1 million yen. The guy dies 2 days later. Kotaka's a ghost. No one connects the dots. By 1980, he's a full-on machine. January 15th, Nagoya. Robs a credit worker at gunpoint. 246,660 yen. October 30th, same city. Storms a 24-hour shop. Forces a manager to open a safe. 5.76 million yen. Then kills him on the road. He's fearless, reckless, and still wearing that firefighter's badge like armor. But every streak's got an end, right? November 8, 1980, Osaka. Steals a car and a bag, 78,000 yen. Cops nab him mid-act, and the jig's half up. Papers scream. Hero firefighter caught stealing. He's fired, slapped with 3-year suspended sentence for theft. No murder charges yet. He's free, but the mask is slipping. What's next? A guy this far gone doesn't just stop. He's got no job, a fractured family, and a taste for blood that's only getting stronger. We're headed for the end game, where Kotaka takes on the cops themselves, and a single wrong move brings it all crashing down. Stick around. This monster's about to show his full face. We've been riding this roller coaster with Kotaka Katsuta, watching him juggle two lives like some twisted circus act. Firefighter by day, killer by night. Last time, we saw him hit his stride, racking up bodies, cash, and commendations, all while the cops chase their tails. By 1980, he's nabbed for a sloppy car theft in Osaka. Small potatoes compared to the blood on his hands, but it costs him his job and cracks the hero facade. He's out on a suspended sentence, no uniform to hide behind, and a family that's barely holding together. You'd think a guy this deep in the muck might lay low, right? Nope. Kotaka's not wired that way. He's doubling down, and it's about to get messy. Let's see how this house of cards finally topples. After the 1980 bust, Kotaka's life's a dumpster fire. The firefighting gig, his golden ticket, is gone. His wife's had it. The kids are shuffled off somewhere, and the debts still crushing him. He's got no steady paycheck, no respect, just a rap sheet and a reputation in tatters. Most guys would hit rock bottom and stay there, maybe beg for forgiveness or disappear. Kotaka? He's too proud, too restless. Crime's not just a habit now. It's who he is. October 25th, 1982, Nagoya. He's back at it, swiping a Toyota worth 700,000 yen from a parking lot. 2 days later, he's got a wild idea. Calls the cops with a fake name, says he spotted that stolen car. When they show up, he's waiting, rams a patrol car, jumps out, beats an officer with a bat, and snags a service pistol. A cop's gun. That's next level crazy, even for him. The officer's hurt bad but survives, and now Kotaka's not just a thief or a killer. He's a cop attacker. Japan's police force flips into overdrive. This isn't some petty crook anymore. It's a full-on manhunt. October 31st, 1982, Hikone, Shiga Prefecture. Kotaka's prowling a supermarket at 2 a.m., gun in hand, ready to rob it blind. But he bails. Too risky, too loud. A few hours later, 8 a.m., he's at a highway rest stop in Maibara. Spots a 27-year-old guy, Kanko, minding his own business. Kotaka forces him into a car at gunpoint, tells him to drive to Nagoya. Kanko's no pushover. Halfway there, he slams the brakes, lunges for the gun. Kotaka fires, hits him hard. Kanko dies the next day. Kotaka peels off, stops at a gas station, and, get this, shoots the attendant because he thinks the guy saw blood on his gloves. Lucky for the worker, a metal lighter in his pocket stops the bullet. He lives. 2 shootings in a day, and the cops are closing in. Ballistics tie the gun to the stolen police pistol. Case number 113, top priority. Kotaka's officially a ghost they can name. October 31st, 1983, mark that date. Kotaka's in Osaka, tailing a guy who's just pulled over 1 million yen from a bank. He slides into the car, flashes a cop's gun, and says, "You heard about that officer who got shot? This is the gun. Toss the cash in the back and get out." Smooth, right? Except this guy's not playing. He's thinking, this psycho's killed before. If I give in, I'm toast anyway. So he grabs Kotaka's arm, wrestles him. They're thrashing in the front seat when bank staff hear the commotion and rush over. It's a pile-on. Kotaka's pinned, cuffed done, hauled into the station. He knows the game's up, and then he drops the bomb. Over 300 thefts, 22 murders. The cops are floored. 22? They got solid proof on 8, inklings of 14 more. But the rest? His word against a lack of evidence. They stick to what they can nail. 8 count of murder, plus the thefts and assaults. The trial's a circus. Japan's reeling. Kotaka's a household name, the firefighter turned fiend. He's got over 20 awards from his hero days, 2 national firefighting competition wins, and now this, a rap sheet that makes your skin crawl. The courtroom's packed, the press is rabid, and the verdict's no surprise. Death penalty. He's shipped to Osaka detention house to wait it out, and here's where it gets weird. Kotaka doesn't just sit there. He learns Braille, starts translating books from blind, writes an autobiography, Drifting Days on a Dark Sea, says he'll use the royalties to pay victims' families. It sells 8,000 copies, peanuts really, but it catches the eye of a female editor. They start writing letters, she visits, and 8 years later, she publishes the naked truth of Kotaka Katsuta. Meanwhile, another book, The Cold-Blooded Art of Kotaka Katsuta, hits shelves in 1983. Spawned a 1984 film, Cold Blood. He's a monster, sure, but he's a celebrity monster now. November 30th, 2000, Execution Day. Kotaka's 52 and it's time to pay. They march him to the gallows, slip the noose around his neck, and that's it. Lights out. End of the line for one of Japan's worst. But here's the thing. How'd he get away with it so long? Was he a genius? Nah. The cops dropped the ball, big time. Most of his victims were women, hostesses, club workers, people the police saw as lowlife. They'd shrug, assume it was personal beefs or bad deals, and move on. No deep dives, no connecting dots. If they dug into his past after that first theft bust, maybe they'd have stopped him sooner. Instead, he ran wild for a decade, hiding behind that firefighter shine. So what's the takeaway? Kotaka's one of 3, him, Koda, and Miyazaki, Japan's post-war serial killer elite. Koda and Miyazaki were sicker, more twisted, but Kotaka? He's the everyman gone wrong. The guy next door who'd save your cat then rob your house. What pushed him there? Was it the strict dad, the sister he couldn't match, the society that spit him out after reform school? Or was it just him, greedy, angry, rotten to the core? That's where this lands us. Staring at a puzzle with no easy answer. A guy who wore 2 faces until one swallowed the other whole. Next time, we'll wrap it up, dig into what it all means, why it still haunts us. Ready for the end? Let's close this case. We've tracked Kotaka Katsuta from a cocky kid to a cold-blooded killer, watched him weave a web of crime under a firefighter's halo, and seen it all crash down in a blaze of desperation. Last time, we hit the climax. A botched robbery, a death sentence, and a bizarre prison stint where he played the penitent author. November 30th, 2000, the noose tightened, and Japan said goodbye to one of its deadliest sons. But this isn't just a wrap-up. It's where we peel back the layers and ask the big questions. What turned Kotaka into this two-faced terror? Was it his life, his choices, or something bigger? Let's step back, sift through the wreckage, and figure out what this monster's tale says about him and us. First, let's rewind to the roots. Kotaka's childhood was a sob story. No broken home, no starving nights. He had a roof, food, a family that wasn't rich but wasn't hurting. His sister was a star, quiet, obedient, the apple of their parents' eye, while Kotaka was a tornado tearing through their peace. His dad was a hard-ass, always on to measure up, and maybe that stung deeper than we know. Being the screw-up next to a perfect sibling can twist you, plant seeds of resentment that grow ugly. Then there's school, Kotaka flunking out, getting laughed off by teachers, dodging the farm life his dad pushed. He didn't want to toil, he wanted to shine. And when he couldn't shine legit, he stole the glow. First candy money, then wallets, then lives. Was it rebellion? Envy? Or just a kid too stubborn to play by the rules? Zoom out a bit. Japan's post-war mess might have had a hand in this. The 1950s and 60s were rough. Cities rebuilding. Folks clawing out of poverty. A society obsessed with order and status. Kotaka's family was better off than most, but he still felt the squeeze. The pressure to be somebody in a world that didn't forgive missteps. That reform school stint branded him early. Once you're that kid, good luck shaking it. Jobs shunned him. People judge him. And every door that slammed shut fueled the fire. Some say he snapped because society kicked him too hard. Expulsion, suspicion, rejection piling up until he decided to kick back. Stealing wasn't just survival. It was revenge, a middle finger to a world that wouldn't give him a fair shot. Murder? That's where it gets personal, where the line blurs between victim and villain. But let's not kid ourselves. Kotaka wasn't just a product of circumstance. Plenty of folks had it worse and didn't turn into serial killers. There's something in him, a core of greed and thrill-seeking that drove this train off the rails. He loved the rush, swiping cash as a teen, splashing on golf and gold chains as a man. Even when he had a wife, a kid, a solid gig, it wasn't enough. He craved more money, more status, more power, and he'd claw through anyone to get it. That first kill in 72? Panic, sure, but he didn't stop. He learned, adapted, targeted women with messy lives because he knew the cops wouldn't dig deep. That's not a broken system's fault. That's a predator's mind at work, cold and calculating. He wasn't pushed. He jumped. The cops, though, they own a chunk of this mess. Kotaka ran rampant for years because they didn't look hard enough. His victims, hostesses, club workers, weren't respectable in their eyes. Cops shrugged, figured these women brought on themselves, chased X's and Johns instead of sniffing out patterns. No DNA, no urgency, just bias and laziness. If they checked his past after that 65 theft bust, or tied his truck routes to the crime scenes, maybe they'd have nabbed him sooner. Instead, he hid behind that Firefighter shine, medals, TV spots, the works, and they bought it. Kotaka wasn't a genius. He just played a game the system let him win too long. So where's the lesson? Kotaka is one of Japan's big three, him, Koda, Miyazaki, post-war killers who shook the nation. Koda and Miyazaki were flashier, sicker, but Kotaka's the quiet nightmare. The guy you trust with your life until he took it. His story's a gut punch about duality. Good and evil tangled up in one soul. Some blame his folks. Too strict, too distant. Others point to society. Unfair, unforgiving. Me? I think it's simpler. Kotaka chose the dark every time it called. He had chances. Love, a family, a hero's gig. And he torched them for kicks and cash. That's not tragedy. That's a guy who liked being the bad guy. This hits deeper, though. It's a warning. People aren't one-dimensional. Behind every smile's a shadow, and Kotaka's proof you can't always spot it. It's why we gotta look closer, judge slower, see the whole picture. Education, fairness, a little compassion. Maybe that pulls someone back from the edge, or maybe not. Kotaka's tale says evil's not always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet guy in a uniform, the one you'd never suspect. And that's the chill that sticks with you. How thin the line is, how easy it is to cross. So next time you cheer a hero, peek behind the curtain, just in case. That's the end of Kotaka's road. A life that started with candy thefts and ended with a noose, leaving Japan to wrestle with the why and the how. He's gone, but the questions linger, and maybe that's the real story. Not just who he was, but what he shows us about ourselves. Case closed, but the echoes, they're still out there.